Happy Tuesday!
Happy Tuesday. I was going to say aloha flow riders, but my brain got stuck. Hello,
I feel like I could hear you typing, so I figured maybe I needed to jump in with an intro.
No, what I was trying to say hi to my other brother Daryl because Daryl popped up in the chat, but then my dyslexic fingers just did what it wanted to do. It didn't come out right, so I'm just stop typing now. Anyway, welcome to the flow. I am your co-host Doc Rock, along with my awesome co-host.
Oh, co-rock. Okay, that might be my new favorite thing. I am your co-rock, Katie. Or, hey everyone, it's Katie. It's just usually my intro.
Oh my God. Oh, this was going to be great. See what happens when we let Ash come and hang out with us today?
I know, I'm excited.
We have something super epic to show you. I don't know, for people who watch me on my other podcast, which is Creators Unstuck, I do a majority of my processing after the fact with Capsho. So today we're going to talk about Capsho. We're going to introduce you to that. And Ash and I have something fun that we've been cooking up in the kitchen, like stir fry, like Migos. So we got something to share with you today. So yeah, without further ado, Katie, you want to do the intro?
Yeah. So if you haven't met Ash yet, Ash is the co-founder and head of product at Capsho, which is one of our favorite tools. It's an AI-based tool. And he's also the co-host of the NFL podcast, Fourth Down and Under, where he shares his avid love of and international perspective on the NFL. He's a lifelong entrepreneur and creative, and he loves exploring weird and wonderful opportunities that intersect between AI, entrepreneurship, and creative expression. He's just all around fun, and every time we're on a call with him, it's the best. So I'm really excited for today.
Oh my God. Weird and perspectives is funny because I don't know if he's saying that he likes it or he's calling us the weird perspective.
Let's ask him. Let's bring him on. Welcome to the show, Ash.
Hey guys. No, I'm the guest rock. So if you're the co-rock,
I
want to be the guest rock.
Yeah, I'm the co-rock. Okay, you're the guest rock. That'll be our new intro from here on out. We've done it.
You've branded it up. I love it. And I love to hear, I'm excited, and I love hearing the bio because I'm like, I have no idea what you are going to say, and it's good to hear what I do. So you've grounded me.
Yeah, it grounds and reconfirms what it is that you do. I actually before we fully kick off into this episode where we're going to talk a little bit about workflows and help people understand how to take their podcast from kind of conception all the way through to promotion. But before we jump into this, I get asked this a lot because we talk a lot about Capsho and people are like, okay, but what is it? So I'm curious I have the about Capsho here in my notes, but how would you describe Capsho and kind of the foundation of where it came from and what it is?
Yeah. So really it's an AI content marketing tool. It's a lead gen tool. And it really came about, like with most things, I think the pain points that we were suffering getting into podcasting, I'm going to say maybe about 5 years ago. So my co-founder, Deirdre, get too colloquial there. And again, the Aussiness comes out. She got into podcasting and, this whole world of what are these show notes? I thought you just had to record something and put it out, right? Yeah, there's all this stuff that you have to do after it to make sure people can find it. So we then went about how do we kind of systemize that? And I guess AI was probably ahead of, that was pre-ChatGPT time. So we started to build. We were about 6 months ahead of the curve there. And yeah, we were just trying to make something that made our own lives easier, essentially. So you could take a podcast episode and then that's just grown into video files. So for live streamers and other content creators. So like with everything, you just want life to be easier, right?
Amen. Yeah.
100%.
It's amazing how much easier all of the AI tools have made my day to day. I know it's like my team of friends. And I say this often, but I talk to all of my AI tools as if they are people. So I thank them. I ask them how their day was. I was like, that was a great answer. They say complimentary things back to me. It's just a wonderful feeling here with my AI fleet of robots helping me with everything.
I
should
go
start
back
asking
and forth between doing that because in the beginning, well, now they're much better, but in the beginning, sometimes that would confuse them. But now they're so smart, and it's amazing what they continually learn month after month after month after month. So yeah, you're right. Like the ability to just do mundane tasks, like especially I'm finding Claude does real good with data analysis. So my fulfillment spreadsheets for Dog Pops is pretty psycho. It's just the way Fourth Wall does it. Actually, you've seen the Fourth Wall fulfillment sheets. They're kind of crazy. And I'll just throw it at Claude, and I'm like, can you please analyze this and then put all the right shipping carriers in the right spots? And it was like, yeah, okay. And it just does it. I'm like, wow, that would have taken me hours because I can't stand Excel. Like, it would have taken me legit 4 hours. It's like,
it is. And the crazy thing too is that like it, obviously like there's a million and one things you can do with these tools, across like virtually every single aspect of any of our lives. But you're right, Ash, that like in the world of podcasting and video podcasting, certainly there's a whole bunch of these steps that are like, even if you like them, they're like not the most fun. They're like really like mundane, and they take up a ton of time, right? Like like naming your episode, like especially if you're like us and you're going out across YouTube, so like your YouTube title and description, there's like a format that it needs to hit in order to be successful. You want, you probably want all of those show notes. You want, social media posts. You want maybe like a blog post or a checklist that sits alongside of all of it. This used to take me hours of time before I started using tools like Capsho. So it is pretty amazing. So I'm marveled that these kinds of things exist and do really make things so much easier. Did I miss anything? What else? It gives quotes. Capsho gives quotes.
Oh, what Capsho does? Quotes, lead magnets. So we create checklists.
The lead magnet part is fun.
Yeah, clips. So then taking the video clips, we've gone into the thumbnail generation as well. So just that, where kind of people and our users needed help, we've kind of just slowly continued to build it that way because
you do it the way we do it. Like you let it out there, people are using it and they go, hey, it'd be really cool if, and you go, yeah, we have that in the pipeline. You write it down real quick. Yeah. go and make it happen. I have a question. As long as I've been using this and talked to you guys a million times, where the heck did you come up with Capsho?
I think we go back and forth on this, and I don't think we all sit and agree on the origin story. So like, I'm going to say I'm the most recent to it, like full time. So Deej and Bonner have been working on it. That was their lifeblood. I was kind of doing it part time and then kind of transitioned across. So Capsho came about in there, I believe they named it. And I always thought it was because they were also trying to come up with captions. So there was podcasting show notes, but it was, I guess the first brainchild was it was a captioning tool for more social media. And I'm like, Capsho, captions make sense. And they disagree that that's true, but I'm going to stick with that.
That was what I was guessing. It definitely makes sense in my
you were wrong,
mind.
like me. So I don't know why we named it this.
Well, everyone listening and watching can just double down on that so that we can just really, rise up a group of people who are Capsho users that believe that is the origin story.
It makes sense.
So you don't feel weird, Ecamm was named Ecamm long before there was any cameras involved.
There you go.
How about that? That's the part that's actually pretty hilarious. Ecamm came out in 1999, but like cameras as like webcams and things like that is more like 2004. So it's really like, people always ask that question. Oh, Ecamm is new? No, we've been around we're old enough to drink now.
So what was it? You would have been drinking in Australia a long time ago. You know what I mean? That's the beauty of living there.
Right. When I go to Japan, right? When I was in Japan, the drinking age is 20. I was like, okay, that's cool. So their first app was a Palm Pilot app, which is crazy. Okay. Like when you think about it, that was eons ago. Palm Pilot.
And I think Ecamm really just came from the idea of like they needed like a cool sounding name for this growing business, and they needed a domain that would be easy to remember. So it was like email and like cameras maybe.
Yeah. And then you do two M's just to be different and stand out.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Always the case.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I want to dive in. We promised this episode would be about helping people understand how to create high quality video podcasts faster and easier using Capsho. So I want to talk a little bit about workflows. And Ash, I know you're ready to share your screen. Do we want to swing over maybe here?
Because I think
let's get into a demo and let's talk about like, okay, if you want to join us in making things easier using these tools, what steps do you do and when, if you're thinking about podcasts? Because I think that's hard sometimes for people to wrap their head around, like, okay, what's my actual workflow with this kind of thing? How do I use it?
Yeah. So I think you're right. So like, I'm going to say we've been doing the podcast since the beginning of last season. So we kind of got into it. I think we've released about 30 episodes now, but we've really personally been doing it for about, or myself, like 6 odd months. Obviously the tool's about 2.5 years. So we were in the space. We know a lot of podcasters deep in it. Deej was podcasting, but I hadn't dipped my toe into it. So I was like, okay, let me see what this is at. And all the things you mentioned before were like, the recording takes such a long time that the show notes was the last thing I wanted to do. I'm just like, it almost stopped me from publishing it because there's another step. Like, why do I have to do this? So really for us now, it's making sure, I guess, again, that episode planning, I think, is so key. Like, you kind of like, the direction. We focus on mainly like one topic. So it's with my younger brother. So we just kind of use it as a catch up. So we have 2 segments. We talk some nonsense at the top. It's more for our mum. Our mum listens. So she catches up with us that way. We started a group chat. She's responding to the podcast. She's emailing us. She's our biggest fan. And
this is the best reason to start a podcast that I think I've ever heard. And we're doing it literally just to catch up with our mom. That's amazing. We
all live, that's it. I'm in Austin. My brother's moved. He lives in Zurich. My mum is still back in Sydney. Wow. So we're no longer there. So this is the best way to ensure that she hears our voice every week. So we got really good at, like, I guess, that point. And then that allowed the production time to be a little bit shorter, even though we talk a lot of nonsense. And then it is just then the ability to take that, throw it into Capsho, and then have everything, as you said, generate, versus then having to kind of sit there and now think, okay, now what's next, or what platforms do I want to be on? We offer up a lot, but it kind of allows you to kind of assess it and then pick what feels right or where you want to be. Because I always say you don't want to be on all of them. Like, even then we would say that before, and then I got into it and go, I don't know if I was on all these platforms and knew how long this would then still take me, and I'd be so unfocused. So I almost go like, you get to that stage, but already ahead of time, you kind of know, is it more geared towards Facebook? Is it more Instagram? Are you on YouTube first? Do you want to create long form content and get people coming into the website? As long as you know that ahead of time, it makes the next step a lot more manageable and targeted.
The cool thing about Capsho that I really I love and works for my brain. I did this training with Kat Mulvihill, her momentum theory training, where she talks a lot about like finding processes and systems and tools that work for your brain. And Capsho was like the perfect example of this, because once you're done, like Doc and I are great at this point at recording the video, right? Like we're really good at like speaking in video. Doc is incredible at it. I've like forced myself to get much better at it. So once the video's done, what's cool about it is you send that through into Capsho, and then Capsho like analyzes it, right? So it's grabbing the transcript, it's reading the transcript, so it's hearing what you're saying, and then it asks you these follow-up questions where it's like, what is this video about? So it gets you thinking about stuff that you probably weren't really thinking about, because in my mind I was like, well, I've done the video. I'm all done, and like I moved on to the next thing. I haven't thought about it, where I feel like it doesn't just generate a whole bunch of stuff. It first says like, hey, Katie, actually, what was this? What do you think this video was about? And then when you put it in, it's like, what are you trying to do with this video? And then it says, here's what we think it's about, and the ratings of what usually, how popular that is. And then lets you kind of go through those steps that way, which I really value. And I have not found another tool that does this. The act of getting you to slow down and stop and think about it, I think, is actually really crucial to getting it right, versus just sending something through into like Claude or a ChatGPT and being like, well, done, I'm going to copy and paste that out. It's much more intentional. And I think that's really huge.
And honestly, if you don't know how to fine tune a prompt in order to make it for show notes the way that people are accustomed to seeing a show notes, like as Luis would say in Chris Rock, they accustomed to, you're going to get something that looks okay, but it won't really flow. God, I hate when I do that. But everybody drink. Katie, go ahead, drink. It won't have the right flow. So what's cool about when you use a tool like this, the internal prompts that are making this stuff for you, they're fine tuned for a very specific task, and it knows how to get the best out of what that task is. And I've totally seen the difference between, using something like this and making myself, and I know how to write prompts very well. It's still like, it takes a lot of fine tuning. It isn't something you're going to tune in one crack. I almost said something weird.
The craziness is like, I know I will attest that, I have my own shortcuts where, you've got a Capsho, which is the full-fledged kind of system. And as you said, like, there's so much that goes into it in the back end where I love what you said there, Katie, because I was saying this to Deirdre this morning, where AI has allowed us to move at such a pace. So there's the whole school of thought, which is like, don't be a perfectionist, like doing, trumps everything, which is great. Yeah. But I feel like now doing can come so fast without any maybe thought behind it. And that's not great. And because then you can kind of get too far down the road before you realize maybe, you need it to be somewhere else. And so I think that beautiful piece, whether it's using Capsho or even when I'm using ChatGPT, Claude, that extra little step of like, what are you trying to do? Or even getting it to plan a little bit for you before you do it enhances it so much. So we just went like, that's the natural flow of how we would do it as humans. Like, really, the goal is to take the manual process and automate that, not create some fast process that is different, essentially. So hopefully what you feel is just like, this is what I used to do. It took me 3-4 hours. It's now still so much shorter, but it's so intentional and it's all optimized for each of the platforms and each of the outputs that we produce.
Yeah, I kind of liken it to like when I'm trying to write a presentation notes or like a really important email back to someone and I don't want to be misunderstood or I want to make sure I'm saying the right things. I inevitably find a friend or a colleague or someone and I'm like, can I read this out loud to you? Can I present this to you? Like, can I run this by you? Does this sound okay? Am I hitting all of the points? Yeah. And that is what kind of that step is doing, is saying like, hey, I just listened to you give this presentation and like, is this what you meant to say? Yeah. is this like, because it seems like your audience actually wants to hear about these things, like which you talked a little bit about. So like, it actually could change even the point. It could be in that process, even though this may be more work for you. It might be, you look at that and say, oh, actually this episode was supposed to be on this topic, but I talked about this and, and Capsho is saying, actually this one little point of the episode is really what would be most impactful for your audience. And maybe that becomes maybe you redo that episode, or maybe you dive deeper into that topic in a future episode because it's telling you, what people are actually searching for and looking for, what that SEO rating is of that content. So I think that's huge. But I want you to swing into demo mode. So Luis can hopefully help us swing over into the share screen, because I want people to know what it looks like. Yeah. So. Right. So other than just nebulously talking through it, because I think sometimes people have a hard time wrapping their heads around it. Here's what it looks like. It's pretty easy.
This is the main dashboard. As you can see, I've got some episodes here that are still, I guess I've already processed, kind of splits down once they're ready to edit. But probably the first step, and one of the things that you kind of just like touched and alluded to there, Katie, is I think the beauty with I guess how we also built it was in the early days. And sometimes, and again, they have definitely got a lot better, but there's limitations to platforms than like ChatGPT in terms of getting it to sound like you and write in your tone of voice and your style. So we really, with this version, were really intentional to go, how do we capture that essence up front? And then also keep learning from what you do to make it better, which sometimes can be a challenge, or you kind of maybe see it, but you don't know why it's happening and whether it's guided the way you want it. So it's really simple. You can just upload a file. So it takes both audio, video, or you can paste in your YouTube link. And I'm just going to quickly kind of like show a demo of this, just so you can see. It asks you a few questions. So this again goes to that point that you mentioned, Katie, where it's like we kind of want to be quite intentional to make sure that we capture a lot of the information up front to make the output as amazing as possible. Mm-hmm. And so here I've created a number of personas. When you start, it's so easy to just throw in some details, basically give yourself a name. We really want to capture like who you are, who your audience is. We've also helped and built a tool off to the side. And then you can upload some information here around your content. So if you're more Instagram first, if you're email first, wherever you think your like brand or personality comes out in your content, you upload it in, we analyze it, and then we set that into your persona. So every time you create, it now is written in your style.
Yeah. It's pulling from like your history, your actually what you say and how you sound.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's just so key and critical in terms of, again, being able to stand out, because otherwise then it is that homogenous nature of, I think sometimes, as you said, you put in a thing and to say, please write me some show notes. It's just going to follow some generic template.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because I can't see you, I'm going to just, if you just jump in, because I'm like, it's always weird when I share my screen.
No, it's great. Let's click through on one of them and show the different like options on the other. Let's go through the process just so that people can see.
So I'm going to show you a couple.
You have the different parts on it.
Yeah. So I'm going to click into 22 and I'll show you the difference between how the learning works.
Yeah.
Once you've uploaded a file, you kind of click in and you can kind of see every platform is there presented for you. And the beauty here is, and we shifted to this format because we found we were giving everything to everybody, and that almost was overwhelming. It was just like, oh my God, if I'm not using the blog post, then I feel bad. If I'm not on Facebook and I'm only on Instagram. So we were like, let's take a step back. And once you get it, you get your podcast show notes, and then everything else is there. You just can kind of click in, generate it. It produces it for you. But this is that step where I'm like, you can be really intentional and just focus on the platforms that you need to be.
Yeah.
Show notes perspective.
Yeah.
Yep. Go for it.
I was going to say, and I mean, hopefully you all watching and listening have, like, if you are doing a podcast, have some kind of workflow and have a checklist of these steps anyway. So it's like, now that you're done the episode, it should be like, okay, I need my show notes. I need, the best possible title and description. I need you're going through a checklist anyway. So these are just helping you identify what you might need and making sure that you get the work done and through your checklist.
Yeah. So what I got up on the screen is almost like, this is like the OG. So this is like Capsho out of the box. So obviously we've set up the persona. So it's still written in my tone of voice, but it doesn't know much. It's kind of still working off how we have really adjusted the strategy for show notes with different experts. But we all know that we just like to write differently, set up things differently. So we didn't want to constrain people. And so this is the step where you'd go in, you can review it. We always recommend, like, AI gets you 80, 90% there. Jump in here and actually still make your manual edits. That's where also your personality shines. So you would kind of come in here, fully editable editor. And if we look at it, a bit of a title, episodes, key takeaways, bonus content, yada, yada. So I've bring that up just to show you the difference in what we'll see with 29. So I then kind of have primed it. I've thrown in all of the different content that we actually have produced. It knows that for the latest episode, you can kind of see how different this show notes look, because this is how I set my show notes up, and the get in touch. So that kind of CTA line that we do, if you kind of add that within Capsho, and then we have a little markers complete button here, it then tells the system, hey, what I've put in here for all the assets, this is what I want you to learn. And now it's continued to learn off the 5 episodes prior. And now it's producing show notes completely different to the out of the box Capsho that is personalized for me.
That's awesome. I think it's a really
cool
smart way to approach it.
Sort of learns what you do. And then that's how you train the formatting. And again, training this with a regular model is not easy. That's the part where people get frustrated, but this makes it so much simpler.
And it's all there for you too, which again, like, is helpful if you're newer to this. It can kind of help create a checklist for you as well, where you're like, oh shoot, like, I didn't think about show notes, or I didn't think about like Instagram, posts that I need to do later, but it's there as kind of a visual reminder of what you should be working through every single time you release an episode or a video.
To Ash's point, right? So Katie, to Ash's point, some people look at that, and that's why I put it in the chat, like having feelings is really bad. If you look at that and you go, oh, I'm not doing Facebook, so I feel bad. I'm like, no, that's telling you here's an opportunity for the thing you always say when we go to conferences. Well, how do I get more people to see my stuff? Don't live in Facebook because it's dangerous, but definitely promote your stuff there because obviously everybody's there. So, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to put an ad in the paper to make someone come to my used car lot. That sounds really crazy.
Yeah. Taisha's asking like a really fantastic question. She asks, would this be something that would be useful for me even if I don't have a podcast? Absolutely. Yeah. So like I use it for YouTube. I am personally using it for YouTube in general, it works for any video and audio too, I believe, right, Ash?
Yeah. So I've even
any video or audio file.
Gone like the beauty it is, and sometimes again, it's that level of like adaptability to say like, it starts with a podcast or you see YouTube and you think, if I'm not on that platform, I can't use it. We have people, we record our summit. If you have webinars, sometimes I'm just like, if you've got an idea and you are not ready to have a podcast, but it's great content, you could record that half an hour and then upload it and you will get all of this content that you could still leverage. So if you have audio, if you have video, you can throw it into Capsho and it will produce all of this. And to your point, Katie, before, sometimes you read it and you're like, I did talk about that. You sometimes record this stuff and you just move on, you forget it, and you're like, it makes you sound smarter. And you're like, that's great. Yeah, that's brilliant.
And Tyson, to your case very specifically, if you were to take, I wouldn't do it necessarily for this particular show, but here's an example. Because you've done so many of your Q&As recently, I was on her Q&A yesterday because we're doing something similar. You literally could take the last 5 episodes, put them in a playlist on YouTube and click podcast. Now you have a podcast. People get stuck in the word of what is a podcast. I want you to just wrap your head around the terminology show. If you have a show, you have a podcast. If you have something that you publish on a particular timeline that everybody kind of knows that timeline is it. So every Thursday, I'm going to come here and talk about buying wool socks. That's a podcast. Yeah. All you do is check a box. So, the podcasters would love you to believe it's something super special, but it's not. It's just a weird label.
There's no special shows here. No, but it's a good point too. And that's in many cases, like the magic of tools like this is when you're doing a recurring video or audio or show or podcast, like all of these things on a recurring basis, that gives you content that then builds and helps AI understand you better and give you better end results, right? So it's actually better if you're doing any kind of recurring anything versus the one-off things, because it allows the training of these tools to make the output better. So it is actually harder to use tools, at least in my personal perspective, harder to use tools like this if you're only doing something ad hoc. Like you're like, I do this one video and then I do this completely different video and then this, because it'll have a harder time kind of understanding who you are. Yeah. And what you're doing.
Well, that's a good point, Katie.
To the name of the show, you have no workflow then. Like you have no routine. Like that's really what most of this comes down to is where, even if you're doing the podcast, sometimes, or the live stream, you're just putting videos out on YouTube, you might not be doing this. And then this I guess that felt strange to begin with. It felt a little bit clunky and awkward. And then you got into your groove. This is no different. Mm-hmm. And it's that idea of just like, it's that continuity and consistency. Once you do it every week and you kind of then work out what works for you, like you play around with it, you go, actually, I like the Instagram awareness polls more than the, contrarian statements on Facebook, then you kind of know where everything lives. But a lot of us then, you also need to be curious sometimes and play with some of these to know what is actually speaking to you, what's actually, going to feed almost how you want to present the content out into the world. I don't know. Do you want to see any of the other things? I mean, as I said, like each of the platforms is like optimized. We worked with like different experts so that each of them kind of has strategy built into it as well. So like on social media, we work with Katie Brinkley. She has like a 4-post strategy to take through how you share the content and engage people. So, the first one's awareness posts can be quite contrarian. This was an episode that we broke down the NFL Combine recently. So it gives you options of, well, this is not probably what the norm is out there, trying to create commentary and engagement.
I like number one. Number one is hilarious to me. For those of y'all who are listening or you can't read, the first kind of idea says, combine 40-yard dash times are as meaningful as astrology readings for predicting NFL success. Thoughts? And the reason why that's super funny, and I'm going to say this with a lot of pain in my heart, I'm a diehard Raiders fan. For years, our owner loves to draft the fastest person in the NFL. And for years, the fastest person in the NFL been the fastest to be out of the NFL.
They don't know how to play actual football. They just know how to run fast.
Yeah. He's like, we could teach them the skills. I was like, yeah, not the way the level is now. Back in the day, that might have been true, but now it's not.
This model really, really works. So we did, and this is actually a great segue, or I feel like it's a great segue getting into, but we did an incredible challenge with the Capsho team last year where we broke this down, and we really everyone that participated jumped in. They learned how to use Ecamm, they learned how to use Capsho, and we even our internal team here at Ecamm, we started using this 4-post social media strategy from Katie Brinkley, and it made a huge difference. People love to give their opinion on a statement like that. Like you heard how fast Doc was like, I've got thoughts and feelings, right? Yeah. Everyone has thoughts, maybe just thoughts, Doc. But everyone loves to give their opinion. So these posts do work, and this strategy works really, really well. So I think it's a great thing to test and play with. It's not something we do all the time at Ecamm. We test and play with it, and it works. But I think it's great. It's nice that it's built right in. You don't even have to think. You don't even need to have a strategist. They have a strategist built right into the tool for you. So so it's great. But that's my segue into, we should tease and talk about this year's challenge. So we're doing another challenge with the Capsho team, and Ash and Doc are doing their own totally real and yet completely fake live show.
Nonsense.
Total nonsense. So why don't the two of you try to define what this challenge is?
It's hard to define.
Yeah. Go for it, Doc.
So we had this idea that we wanted to build a show to show you how to build a show. See, that already just comes out sounding goofy. We wanted to build a show to show you how to build a show. And so he said, well, what should we make the show about? And I was like, well, the most famous show ever is a show about nothing. So how about we go to making a show about nothing? So
but it will be about so much, though, Doc. Don't sell ourselves short.
It's going to be about a lot, but also about
nothing. It's about everything and nothing at all. It's like, what's her name? Michelle? Oh my God, my brain just went dumb. Everything and anything all at once, but not really there.
Oh, yeah.
Show, yo.
Everything, yeah.
Yo. So
it doesn't matter. We just say lots of
It's going to be sort of like that. And I can't wait to do this because we've come up with some crazy ideas, and Ash has wrote a thing that's kind of generating our fake show for us. And so we just have to show up and present it. But in the meantime, show you how to create the show in a combination of Ecamm and Capsho. That was a lot of shows.
That's a lot of shows. The real fun behind this is that I think, as we say often on this show, we all take ourselves a little bit too seriously, and we all get bogged down by making sure that it's absolutely perfect or in sync with what we have in our brain before we do it. And so we've challenged Doc and Ash to create a show where they talk about topics that are randomly assigned to them through the wonder of AI, to show you that it doesn't actually matter what your show is about. It's way easier to get up and running than it seems, and it's way less scary to live stream than you think. And hopefully you will all join us on this incredibly fun and silly experience, because I think we need a little silliness in our month. So coming in April.
Well, too, it's kind of like improv, right? Because one of the skills that every podcaster or, streamer, presenter, Zoomer, whatever, the one skill that everybody needs to brush up on is becoming a much better extemporaneous speaker. Yep. And I can do it about anything and everything, no matter what. And part of it comes from Toastmasters, and the other part of it comes from improv, but also just doing radio for years. Because in radio, I swear, any given moment, the PD, program director, or the traffic person would just come in and hand you a piece of paper and like, all right, at the end of this song, just talk about this. Or some random celebrity pops into town with no plans, and they're like, hey, we got Shaquille O'Neal here. You got to interview him. What? Okay. You just got to do it. You don't have a chance to go, oh no, I'm nervous. Oh my God, it don't sound right. You have no choice because it's your show and you don't want to ruin your show. Like, you're more than happy to ruin somebody else's show, especially if you want the morning block and you're trying to move up. But yeah, so at any given moment, if somebody pops in, or it's news, at the end of the day, we're playing music, but news happens. So I don't know if you guys remember in Honolulu a couple years back, like when I was in radio, the elephant escaped the circus and ran down the street. And like, we have to stop Tupac. Y'all, listen, don't freak out. If you're driving down Kapiolani Boulevard, there is a gigantic elephant running down the street. We know, nobody call us. Everybody knows it's kind of huge. And these things happen. So I think this is cool. And I just want to answer Jared's questions real quick before we dive back in. Jared had asked about adding, Threads to the list of content creation. At the end of the day, Threads is Instagram and Facebook together. So you it's already there, really. It's there. Just take the Facebook stuff and use it on Threads, or take the Instagram stuff and use it on Threads, because Threads is basically both. So actually, it just save you from kind of like whatever.
Yeah, no, even with Threads, we're working with Adam Sheebley around either, like, again, kind of maybe looking at building Threads in, but even what he does in the dashboard there at the bottom is the lead gen or the lead magnet checklist. He actually takes those checklists and those become his spaced out thread post, because it is just a systemized way. So it's kind of being able to kind of have fun and hack. As Doc was saying there, you can mash these two things together for Threads. You can take the checklist, and now he's got his kind of like super thread strategy that he uses Capsho as the genesis. So it's just whatever your imagination. Again, almost as you said, Doc, don't be confined by the thing that says, just because that says YouTube, if that works somewhere else, use it there. Like,
I think, what I think of it like, Ash. So somebody's going to, I know people, my grandmother used to get really mad at me. She's going to bring this plate of food that she spent hours doing. And the first thing I look for, hot sauce. Like, it ain't food until there's hot sauce, bro. She's like, but why you put hot sauce on everything? I was like, listen, I'm going to put hot sauce on everything. So it's just the thing. Put your own sauce. And what's cool is you're going to find something that nobody else is doing. And that we all know, and Jared would know this for sure, Threads, similar to X back in the day, loves themselves a listicle. So if you take the lead gen generates lists for you. You could take the list and say it gives you 10. You could break it up into segments of 3 and then say, and the top result is, and that's the last thread. And so you can run those backwards, right? You go 9 up and 3 at a time until you get to 1, and those are independent threads. So like, that's super brilliant. I'm glad you asked that question.
You could use Capsho's lead gen tool to create like a checklist that way, right? So there's, once you have the video or the audio done, like everything else is so much easier with tools like this. Like, you've already done the hard work of creating the content, and then tools like this just make it so easy to be creative and to figure out, how to bring your voice out to all of these different places where all of your audience is. So I don't know. This is the fun stuff, and I think it's great that there are tools like this that save time. Right? Yeah.
This was the stuff that wasn't fun. And now hopefully it has a little bit more fun in its voice. It's still maybe not fun, but now we can get through it. And then it's just that consistency, because I just always think it's like, it probably takes, in my mind, it's like if you give 3 to 4 weeks into Capsho consistently and you're making those edits and your marking is complete, that learning really starts to take hold. And then it becomes even more fun, because you're like, oh my God, it's like it's reading my mind. I do say that. And it's like, you do, because we now know, and we are trying to bring that back to you rather than putting other people's words.
It's funny when your own product surprises you. I'm like that at Ecamm sometimes. Like, this is what I work in all day, every day. And every once in a while, Ecamm will surprise me. I'm like, what's up, girl? How you know? Like, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. Okay, so gang, we really want you to come and check this out. It's going to be an absolute blast. We're going to do it kind of as a combination game show, talk show. And so Ash has built some really cool tools that's going to give us these crazy topics. It's going to be way more fun.
We're going to have so fun
there. And so I think we're kind of thinking is we're going to pre-record some stuff just so it has a kickoff. And then we're going to have a live stream directly after that you can come in and watch us build a show, and we'll show you how we create the assets with Ecamm and with Capsho, and just give you the idea of how to build a fun and engaging show. And if ever you want, here's one thing that I think is brilliant. If ever you want to get good at podcasting fast, and this is something that like Kathy does with her brother, if you could be like Ash and you can find a sibling to go with you, you could just record a show about absolute nothing, but just to get good at talking to other people because you know this other person. You guys can make 10 episodes and delete the whole thing. But I guarantee you, number one, you won't. Once you get past 5 and you start cracking up and realize how much you love hanging out with your sibs again, then it will turn into a thing. I've often thought about making a podcast with my Esau mother-in-law because the crazy stuff she says about last Monday. So we have a.
I would watch it. Please do.
Dude, Bob was
I would
hilarious.
totally watch it.
Listen, last Monday was St. Patrick's Day, and the bank here in Hawaii, one of the bigger banks, is called Central Pacific Day. Well, in her English mix-up, she goes, "Oh, you wearing green shirt?" Yeah. She goes, "Oh yeah, today is Central Patrick's Day." What? Nani? Moi kaisho? And it was like, say that again? And she goes, Central Patrick's Day. That's when everybody wear the green, right? And I'm like, oh my God. I wish I had recorded that. That was so gold. Yeah. And so you would be surprised at the kind of fun stuff you can come up with. But to Aisha's point, what that will help you become better at is the speaking thing. You can't get better at speaking watching YouTube. You really have to do this. So this is a great challenge. And if you see what we're doing, I highly suggest you copy it with one of your besties, and you can just leave them unlisted. But what you're secretly doing is building up your skill for the camera. And then you might find out you like it and be like, yo, we should do this. We have a vibe. You guys have that one friend that you guys are like guaranteed almost ready to go to jail when you hang out. That's the podcast.
Yep. Yeah. That is
for Katie, that was Nat.
Yeah.
Me, that's Luis.
Yeah. And I love that the two of you were so excited and willing to get crazy and silly, because I think making it really approachable for people and making it really fun is what's going to kind of demystify and make it feel really possible for everyone. So again, links coming soon, but keep an eye out on this space where we're finishing building everything out, and we will be coming to you with Who Dares Streams. This is the name of our show and our challenge. We're going to be daring you to do all kinds of fun stuff. It'll be free and available for everyone. A really fun opportunity in April. So next month, we'll be popping up and having all kinds of fun. So I'm really excited for everyone.
Really
we're getting a lot of can't wait for this show. I love that Doc and Ash were so willing to be like, we're going to co-host this show. It's going to be epic.
I'm going to give the floor. People who are here today, Jared, I'm going to answer your question. I do see it. I'm going to give you guys a secret of mine that I think most of you kind of already know, but just in case you've never been here, I have no fear of making a fool out of myself in order to learn something. Mm-hmm. You know, I think we take this stuff too seriously. So the best part about working with the Capsho team is they like doing goofy stuff as much as I do. And it's very easy for a brand who's trying to attract customers and trying to be a certain way to be so like polished. Like to this point, I'm on my third knee doctor. The doctor I have now, there's two things I absolutely love about him. Dude got nothing but jokes. We crack up the whole time we're in there. He's about to stab me in the knee with like a 5-inch needle, and we're laughing the whole way through. So there's no fear or tension or whatever. And he's a diehard Raiders fan. So, you know, that's how that worked out.
Hard fix your knee, though. Not real doctor, but he's funny and he's a Raiders fan. And that trumps it right there. That trumps it.
He's the chief of surgery at Queens Hospital, which is one of the number one hospitals in the country. So let's not get that part. Let's not forget that part. But it's a thing, like I tend to levitate in businesses that don't take themselves so seriously, the kind of people that are so tight and butt, I'm not going to work with them because I'm going to say something goofy and they're going to get mad or offended or whatever. And even that's cool about, Ken and Glenn. Ken and Glenn got jokes for days. Like, they're super funny people. So like I tend to work with people that can enjoy a portion of levity. And I watch so many people try to take this so seriously. And I'm like, you're struggling because you're squeezing too tight. Like, it's just not going to work. You're trying to do squats and skinny jeans, and all you're going to do is show your, never mind. Anyway, so Jared's question was, if your team iPhone, can you leverage the ability to record your conversation now and then leverage Capsho as well? Yes, it will accept any form of audio or video. So yeah, super cool. You can just take your file, airdrop it to your computer, and push it up. Is the web page optimized at all for web, Ash? Can you upload it
for mobile?
Yeah.
For mobile, no. So it's very much a desktop app, just for the nature of it. Yeah.
But we in the challenge last year. Yeah. For the challenge that we did last year, Doc and I did a lot of that. We used it for like ideation, where it was like just literally talk into your phone, even just audio, talk into your phone, drop it in, and then use that to be like, write me the outline for what this video should be about. And it was pretty flawless. And then we could record the video. So you could use it like Ecamm into Capsho. You could use it, Capsho, Ecamm, Capsho. You could use it just a photo. You could take Ecamm out of the equation. We hope you don't, but you could, and just do phone into Capsho. But I think thinking about like the content creation process and making it into a really seamless workflow like this is just going to save you a ton of time and make the whole experience better. You should be focusing on the experience and the people.
Ideation, but
we were all over that.
I just used it for ideation. It's super fun. So I think, again, to the point that Ash made earlier about don't just stare at the box and think like I got to work inside the box. Like, I'm the dude with the big fat crayons all outside the lines. Yes, you go outside the lines. That's a good podcast too.
Awesome.
We should get in. That's the thing. I've got so many podcast ideas, and they're all nonsense generally. They're all there's a little. I guess there's got to be some thread, but I'm like, I just need to find someone who can, rip in. As you said, you find that one person. This guy
Ash is looking for a new podcast co-host, so please list your recommendations here in the comments, or email us at flow@ecamm.com.
Listen, Jared said the whole show right there. Family, just be human.
Just be human.
So many people are afraid.
Be friends with robots, but be human on camera.
That's good, Katie.
Oh,
That's super good.
Yeah. I've been having a blast with it. Well, Ash, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on, and a huge thank you to you and the whole team at Capsho for always being a little bit silly with us, because it makes the spring so much more fun for all of us. I'm excited. I'm excited for April.
That's why we're doing it again, because when we vibe, like when we did last year's one, we were like, to your point, to Doc's point, I don't think we've worked with anyone else or other companies that kind of feel like you're a part of us and we're a part of you, if that makes sense. And we're like, and from day one, we're like that call was great. Like, I think this is going to be amazing. And then what we delivered, we were like, we have to run it back. And it's so nice, because to your point, there's so much rubbish in the world, or there's so many stresses that we can put on ourselves. And it's like, life should not be serious. Have fun with it, adapt to it. And then that's how that's what you'll see.
Make this a good outlet.
Definitely in our show.
You know what I mean? It gives you a chance to have an outlet to go look forward to something that has a little bit of levity to it. I said that yesterday, right? Like, I think levity is super, super important. And man, listen, if you guys could have been a fly on the wall of what was our quote unquote corporate meeting yesterday, when Ash and I were like planning the show, it was super stupid. We were just cracking the whole time. And Bonner's like, seriously, guys.
Coming to you in April. Get ready, everyone.
We could have recorded that. We could have recorded our meeting.
That's what she kept saying, right? She's like, we should just record this whole thing because you guys are broken. So if you like to see what broken toys look like when they work, this would be us. Come and check out Who Dare Stream. It's such an incredible concept. And I mean, you guys know it was going to be good because they made their company logo Sloth.
I was going to say, can you see it? Where is he? No, go this way.
Hiding.
That's it. He's just hiding behind the
Oh, there
letters.
he
That's
is.
it.
He's
This is
hiding
my
behind the
favorite. I
letters,
think
yeah.
this is my favorite Capsho shirt. Just that's it. Capsho drip.
Oh.
That's funny.
Well, we did it. We got to the end of another episode, which I'm always marveled how people, it's so funny. Everyone for the longest time was like, how do you do a show? How do you do a show week after week after week? An hour passes by in seconds when you are with people that you enjoy spending time with. It never ceases to amaze me. It's just gone, like an hour gone.
Like I try and keep our show to an hour and a half with my brother, and I'm putting out close to 3-hour episodes because we just can't stop talking. So no, an hour
it's your
is
brother.
just like, yeah.
You know, it's funny, Katie, when you say that about like, the process of doing this. See, again, if you're trying to make it so serious and you're forgetting the whole point is to connect with people, then you get stuck on like, this is hard, right? If you sit down like, oh, this is going to be great, it comes out great. And even for us, and I've said this many a times, on the episodes where we're not even sure what to record because we've been traveling or we got busy and we just crack the mic and go, those sometimes turn out to be our best shows.
Yep.
Because there's just a level of, all right, we're just going to go have fun, do a open mailbag or an open Q&A and just ask you guys questions. And you guys always come through. So listen, we can't do this without Flow Riders. So I appreciate all you guys for coming through today and hanging out with us and the dude that speaks with the weird audio filter.
I wish you told me about the audience are called Flow Riders. I would have dropped that in too. I love that.
Oh yeah, that's us. Flow Riders.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
And like
it's been a
Louise
pleasure,
said,
guys.
remember to pop that like button. Yes.
Yeah, we really
This is
appreciate
super
it.
fun.
Well,
I can't wait.
I'm loving that we're now changing sponsors by episode because that means that Doc can talk all about Capsho here in the end, which I think is fantastic.
This episode of The Flow has been brought to you by Capsho. Capsho is the coolest AI tool to help you get things done with your podcast or any type of audio video that you might be sharing with your community. It makes the process of creating assets from the content you've already recorded as smooth as cutting knife with hot butter. Go and check out Capsho. And go check it out at capsho.com. And don't forget to tell them that Ecamm sent you. You can find out more about The Flow at flow.ecamm.com. This is where you can hook it up to wherever your podcast getting is got. You can leave us questions. You can leave us reviews. You can even leave us voicemail. Just go over to flow.ecamm.com, prop on the voicemail button, and tell us what is on your mind, and we will make sure we get all of your podcasting answers covered.
I love it.
All right, Flow Riders, don't forget every Tuesday live taping right here. This is the hookup. This is the hangout. This is where you come to have fun. And Katie and I are going to be Oscar Mike next week. On the move. I was watching some military stuff yesterday, so my brain is in full drill sergeant mode.
We're going to be on the move.
When you come to my show in an hour, you're going to be like, oh God, he's on one today. He's in drill sergeant mode. Anyway, don't forget, come through. We're always recording on Tuesdays, but we are going to be out of town next week. So, and then I'll be out of town the week after. So the week next, man, listen English. When the word says April, the first one, I'm not going to be here. Neither is Katie. On the second one, it'll be Katie and who knows. I don't know. We got that far yet.
Katie's left to her own devices. I should say, if any of you have any questions that you want us to ask while we are at Podcast Movement Evolutions or while Doc is at NAB, definitely drop those in flow.ecamm.com or email them directly flow@ecamm.com. We're happy to ask any of those questions for you or hunt down the information or record videos on site while we're there. So yeah, we're off to Podcast Movement Evolutions in Chicago next week and then NAB in Las Vegas the following week.
Yeah, so on Thursday, we're going to do a NAB sort of pregame. So if you have questions about gear or things you want me to take to certain companies and go stand in front of them and yell at them for you, let me know. You got some questions you have for any of the, stuff that you like to use that, you might not be able to get to NAB. We're going to do a sort of a pregame on Thursday with Paul and Jill and Mary Lou and myself. So come and bring that info over to us so I can take it and put it in the right hands of the right folks. We will get you twisted. All right. That was awesome. So at this time in the show, Ash, we have a thing and we say, and it's Flow Riders out.
Bye, everyone.